As
Hello,
we
the
start talking about
internet.
it.
How's it going, boys and girls? We are live. We are live. This week,
All right.
this week is going to be slightly different, though. I will try to close this out with a leading scenario that we can lead into next week. But let me move this out of the way. There we go. The Oh, actually, nope. I'm all over the place, everybody. I'm sorry. It's been a crazy day for me. I need to share my screen. Entire screen. No. Oh my goodness. So Paracord Steve, who I converse with in the real life, was over at my house recently, and he was asking me just in general about MOUT, about military operations in urban terrain, specifically pertaining to the suburbs. Can you guys on Discord see what's going on until I did that?
Yep.
All right, wonderful.
Whoa.
I made it go away. All right, so here we are in the suburbs. Okay, so we are focusing on house to house fighting, which is a scale up from what most people talk about CQB, which would be room to room, right? Once we're inside the house, how do we go from room to room? Also super important. But today we are talking about on a larger scale, how do we move from house to house, down the streets? How do we patrol in these areas? How do we set up a defense? All kinds of different questions could come up. So it's not so much about pieing your corner and entering doorways. It's about as a squad or a platoon or a company moving through an urban environment in a larger scale. So, young Sir Steve, did you have anything specifically, any deep burning questions you wanted to kick us off?
Deep burning questions. Yeah, I think mission, like, why are we here? And also in general, like, in what manner? For example, if we want to get from, let's just say, point A to point B, which is, we'll start east of the MSR here on the map currently, and then we're going all the way to the west, right? Like, we could just go through here, right? And go straight through it, no problem. If we were in a car and we didn't have, all our stuff, we weren't all high speed and kitted up, right? It depends on what you're doing. Or like maybe there's some kind of checkpoint or like, whatever, something preventing us, something obstructing us from getting through here. But in general, like, why are we going down the suburban streets, right, in full kit? What's going on here? Like, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? And obviously, answering that question will establish, right, like some kind of SOP. Like, okay, so we're going down this neighborhood in full kit and probably doing some kind of movement to contact, right? Because it's bad enough for us to need full kit. And based off of what we're doing, which is the question really, why, like, when could this ever be applied, right? When would you have to move through a neighborhood fully kitted up? Okay, you know what? That's worded horribly because then it seems like almost inciting something.
Stop!
But
Stop!
like in
No,
a
no, no.
really
You're
bad,
fine. Just ask. Stop
yeah.
overthinking. Just ask. When would this ever be applicable to a civilian?
Yes, when would this ever be applicable and what circumstance, right? Like what would have to happen and
Mhm.
why would we want to do it? Pretty much.
Sure. Well, there's all the crazy fantasy scenarios that are unlikely but not impossible. Zombies,
Booblarp, yes.
Russia invades, the government goes tyrannical, whatever, right? And so now we are pressed into service because the environment has just become crazy and we have to fight. In a more realistic scenario, it could be so it doesn't. This is still going to apply, perhaps not every step and all the way or whatever, but even slightly scaled down, like maybe we're not in plate carriers with 15 mags and a Kevlar helmet and fucking dual tubes or whatever. Maybe it's riot season and it's just like dad squad trying to protect the neighborhood, and then some shit starts going down and we actually like have to do something besides stand in the street with our AR. We actually have to use our tools. So it's guys that have like, a chest rig or a bandolier, maybe just an AR and some mags in their pockets, but we still have to like understand how we're going to go from this side of the street to that side of the street to do whatever happens, right? So like a bunch of guys like run inside a house and are holding the family hostage, or like setting the house on fire, and we're trying to like get over there to them. Maybe they start shooting at us, so now it's a gunfight. Right. Each step of this gets slightly more fantastical than the previous step, but you're asking me when would this scenario apply? Yeah, I've been, lots of natural disasters. If they're extendedly to desperate people can kind of act crazy, and in a way that doesn't help them, but they try to attack rescuers and stuff like that, especially if they feel like they're not being prioritized. So you could possibly have to deal with stuff in those sort of scenarios. Man, I had something good on the tip of my tongue and I lost it.
I got one if you
Go
don't
for
mind.
it. Yeah, let it rip.
Just a common one, like you kind of touched on riot seasons and stuff, but just one that we're probably going to be seeing shortly is the like public doxing by, whatever political action activist group, and then they go to somebody's house, whoever that might be, and start rioting around that person's house, and you decide to kid up with your guys and chase them off.
Yeah, that reminded me. It is also another detailed version of riot season. One that always gets me because I'm pay attention to the news and I don't go places I shouldn't. I live next to Austin. It's a pretty big city. Sometimes it can get rowdy there, and I usually know what days and when to go there. And I generally avoid the city altogether as best I can. But I have loved ones and loved ones of loved ones that aren't as plugged in, don't pay attention, don't care, wouldn't listen even if they were told. So you could have, grandma might have been thrift shopping, and all of a sudden now she's stuck in the middle of a crazy race riot or something, and she's calling you, and so you got to go get her. And again, we're probably not going to go down there in a plate carrier and a fucking Kevlar helmet and dual tubes with an entire platoon. So perhaps every step at the scale and detail we're going to talk about today won't apply in those scenarios, but the concept of like, how do I move with my team from this side to that side? How do we get across? If this turns into a gunfight, how do I get from outside the building to inside the building to begin CQBing? These sorts of things will conceptually still apply. Does that answer your question? Go for it.
So when I asked the question initially, I don't like the way I worded it because it's like, oh, why would we ever want to do this? It was more of to establish like context, right? So
Sure.
to touch on the realities of things, different potential causes, right, that would make you end up here, and also because it's applicable to us. Like I feel like most of us live in or around a suburban area, like the one in front of us, and it can be like really daunting, right? If you ever walk down the street and like war game it in your mind, and you're like, how bad would things get depending on how bad they are? That would dictate what I do, why I do it, if I would even do it, how I would go about it. And we touched on that, right? Like you're not gonna go roll up with like 12 guys in 2 cars, plate carriers, dual tubes on the helmet, everything, right? But in a really bad instance, you just might. But it's like realistically, that's not the first place you're gonna go. It depends on the scales, right, of what's going on.
For sure.
And I feel like that was important to establish initially, and then getting into like.
And yeah,
What I really wanted to touch on was the movement. Oh,
yeah.
You go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think you're right. What you're getting into, which will become stuff we talk about in a little bit. You'll be like, well, what happens when this happens? And I'll reference back like, well, it depends on what your primary mission is, right? If we're going, I know because we kind of talked about this in my driveway the other day. Like, if my mission is to go rescue grandma from the thrift store, and I'm en route to get her, and some gangbangers, whatever, see me and don't like that I'm white or something, and they start shooting at me from off in the distance. Am I now going to delay the going and getting of grandma to stop, about face, and like travel 200 yards in the opposite direction and get into a gunfight? Or am I just going to like leave and they shot at me 3 times and didn't hit anybody, and now I'm far away from them, and that's it, and I'm on my way to get grandma still, right? Which applies applies even to like military context, right? If I'm doing what I did a bunch when I was in mobile platoon in Afghanistan for a few weeks. Escorting politicians around, same concept, right? If we're driving and some guy starts shooting at us, especially if it's ineffective small arms and we're all in up armored vehicles, we're just gonna push. We're just gonna accelerate and push through. We do not want to get in a gunfight. We do not want to stay in this kill zone. We don't want to get bogged down with this political person and put them in danger. We just want to escort them to the meeting. So if we can push through whatever with our big up-armored trucks and just not even get involved, that's absolutely what we're going to do.
For sure.
And then which would be completely different if, like, Russians had paratrooped in and taken over this town, and you were getting distress calls from the citizens being held hostage in their buildings, and the National Guard was like rallying local men to join them because the numbers were thin, and you were like squadding up with fucking 20 of your best new friends to go here and do something about it. That would be the mission, is to get into the fights and find the bad guys and go get them. So that is the mission of that scenario. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And that brings up a really good transition to this next point, manpower, and how that would dictate how you go about things, right? Like if you're trying to push out occupiers in your neighborhood, it's like, oh, we got like 20 plus guys or like 40 plus guys or however many, because, you know, in this context specifically, the hypothetical scenario, you have the National Guard with you now. And so, of course, you're able to do something like that. But if you are only down to like, this is very suboptimal, but 6 guys, 9 guys, or 12 even, like, would you even consider that at all?
Yeah, no, we'd have to get into greater METC factors, like what is the enemy situation, what is the environment, all. We don't have to rabbit hole, but yes, there is a point at which to do an aggressive advancing movement would be suicide, and you're better to try and hold, defend, seek out others to bolster your numbers, or create a safe space for fleeing people to flee to, something along those lines. So still try to be proactive and helpful if you don't have enough manpower to go get some. And yeah, also like if it's we're going to get grandma from the thrift store and it's just me, or maybe me and a couple homies or whatever, 1 or 2 cars of people, our best bet is to look like that we're not what we are, to gray man it up, if you will, right? And to not to operate under stealth and speed as much as we can, and not go to overt violence unless absolutely forced. Whereas, again, the opposite hand, right? If it's fucking North Korea's paratrooped in here and the fucking cops are involved and the National Guard's pulling up and everybody's getting their fucking 12 gauges out and going to work, we have all kinds of manpower and it's hammer time.
Right. Okay, so that's discussing
Let's get
more
less
overt
conceptual,
things.
and
Right.
let's get more into like
The actual movement.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
The tactics.
Yes.
Tactics.
Yes.
So moving from building to building, right? Or like, so realistically, I would say we'd probably start somewhere within the subdivision, right? We're not really coming in, or are we? Like realistically, yeah, we're all coming out of our house.
Well,
So,
if we're defending our suburbs, then we're going to be within the suburbs. If we're coming from outside the suburbs, like to somewhere else, then we could be traveling from outside. But, what's your question?
okay, this
Keep
can
talking.
get complicated really fast. Gotta like set a scenario. So are we moving into the subdivision?
That's the scenario you had said, that if we're moving east to west,
Right, if we're trying to get in. Okay.
or west to east, or whatever, doesn't matter.
I wasn't trying to establish a scenario. I was just saying, like, if we're trying to get from point A to point B, it's like the whole grandma thrift store example. Like, we could just literally go straight through unless there's some kind of obstruction. So I was setting the stage of like, oh, so when would we not be able to do that? How would we go about it, and why? And we already went down that whole rabbit hole of all the different examples.
If we're making movement, let's make these. Let's make these people for a second. So if we're going down a general movement in an urban terrain, tactical column became huge in the urban environment. It's real nice. Let me move these guys forward. Squirm. Okay, so 1 man, 2 man, 3 man, 4 man. So you can walk down a trailed path, and then the distance between you, because it's at a diagonal, it's easier. I'm not explaining this well. You don't if you have to keep like 30 meters or 15 meters or 10 meters dispersion between you, and you're all like this, right, then the line becomes very long, very fast. But if you're able to take it at a diagonal, you can keep that dispersion and still keep the total unit tighter, which matters if you get into like a longer train of people other than just a 4-man team. Also, you have 2 guns oriented in the avenues of approach forward and backward, and then everybody can do cross coverage. So this guy is actually looking, let me do this direction, and this guy's looking that direction, and this guy's looking that direction, right? Because you can see across the street into the structures and windows and doorways and whatnot on the other side, mo better, with a greater field of view and more depth than you can that it's just right next to you 1 foot away.
Right.
Okay, so there's that. Crossing linear danger areas, right? In the woods, when you come to a linear danger area, right? If I'm way up here in the woods and I come to a linear danger area, I'm going to, where was I at? I'm going to halt a platoon. I'm going to establish a team of near side security. I'm going to send a team across to do recon and then set up far side security. And then I'm going to start pushing people across 2 at a time until we get everybody on the other side. And they're all going to be 360 security. And then we're going to consolidate, count everybody, get everybody together, right? It's a whole fucking thing, which makes sense because it's a very dangerous operation. But what do you do when you come down here and it's just endless linear danger areas and you don't have the space or time to do that in depth of an operation? That's where the bump came into play, and it's the same thing. And you will literally do this as you cross every street, and you can make this be casual and quick, right? Like you can do this even if you don't have your rifle out in your shoulder, even if you're like concealed carry with a duffel bag, you can still do this thing. So as you come up to it, 1 man will stop, 2 men will walk up to get online, stop. He's now going to look this way down that road. He's going to look that way down that road. And then they just get bumped. As the next guy walks up, he bumps him. Boom, literally touches him. So then 1 man can then cross the street. He sets up far side security. Same thing over here. Bump, bump, and then bump, 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 bump. So the point being, when 1 man goes to cross the street, when he physically starts crossing that street, there is a guy standing here and a guy standing here looking down the avenue of approach. So he does have somewhat security. And that's true as everybody walks across the street, even if this was like a 20-man line. But you aren't messing up patrol order and you aren't taking a million years. And if you get good at it, it's just like, it's almost as fast as just walking straight through. It feels it flows
Right.
very well. It feels
It's
very
rapid.
natural. Yes.
Okay. Next one here, taking contact in this specific environment. Say you just start getting shot at. To make it complicated, not like, oh, into the street, because we already established, well, you can just avoid the street. Maybe, hopefully, right? Obviously, return fire. But then it brings to the question, like, how do you really establish fire superiority? How do you know, like, okay, they stopped shooting, then what do we do now? Do we just, like, break contact and focus on our mission set? Take a whole different road and just, like, maintain or prioritize the previous direction we just took contact from? Like, would you assault through, depending on distance, right? If they're in a house, again, like, would you just bypass the house? We talked about that. It was like, oh yeah, this isn't the mission, so you just radio it in, bypass, and next group of people, whatever, they can deal with it. We know about it now. Just like, what would determine how and why you would go about that?
Right. So just like we already touched on, mission priority would just dictate what it is, whether you would try to bypass or attack. But let's say we're gonna attack. So let's say we're walking, and then we start getting shot at from this red square, and it's inside a house, so we can't see the person or whatever. We just start receiving fire from windows and doorways of that building. So the entire urban terrain is a bunch of massive rapid avenues of approach combined with masking elements that like create dead space, right? So if we get engaged from here, right? So he opens up, maybe this guy gets shot, he gets hurt. He's right here. He tries to like duck behind this house. He's going to come up to the corner. He's going to try to like scream out to this guy to get him back. This guy's probably going to run up and try to find a space to engage, maybe cross the road. But what's happened here is this team that just got decisively engaged, they basically become the support by fire element, right? So they're stuck out in the kill zone and they're not really able to move because of how everything is open lanes of fire. So they're just stuck where they're at, trying to find cover and engaging the enemy. And if it was just them, it would be kind of hard to maneuver, and we can talk about that in a second. But in a context where you're going to have a supporting team because you're a squad, they can take advantage of the fact, right, that the enemy can't really see this movement that they're about to do, right? So they could all come up here and then come up north and then come down like that and come down on the enemy from another angle, or come back around and come up on the enemy like that. Whatever they decide to do, the point is they have the ability to maneuver, and that maneuver be largely masked by the urban terrain. That wouldn't be the case out here in the field. And caveating off that, a little bit of an advanced way to do urban patrolling is satellite patrolling. So say we have 3 teams in this squad, so each square is still an individual. But instead of putting our third team rather, in formation just right behind there, we're actually going to have them patrol a street over from us. So that way, in this scenario, right, when we get opened up on by this guy in this house right here, not only do we already have like we're using the ability of it to mask us, but we already have that maneuvering team in place. And then same thing, if this team was the team to get caught into fire, well, then they have 2 teams that are able to be immediately in maneuver that the enemy didn't even readily see or know about, most likely. It's hard to control as a commander, right? So if this person here is whatever, never mind. But if this person here is the patrol leader, then I have to trust that the team leader of this team is on his shit and that I'm on my shit and that we're in good communication with each other and nobody's getting lost or confused, because also this could set up scenarios for friendly fire and stuff like that if you're not on top of your A game. So
yeah, that's a
little double-edged sword.
Like comms etiquette in this specific situation. What would you be like throwing out there and saying, and like when, like what would mark? Like, okay, we're about to go and make entry on the house, like the maneuver element, right? To be like, okay, lit fire. I guess it's very specific, right? And you kind of, I don't know, we could tell. This map's good. You gotta be like hyper specific. Okay, they're at this street now. They know that this is like the like main, like this is the kill zone that we've established now. Everybody's putting fire down on this house, and we're about to cross into that. And because everybody's locked in on it, they're like, okay, we know that our homies are shooting this way, so immediately call lit fire as maneuver element. Would maneuver element go internal? Obviously. I mean, how else would they really eliminate the threat that's
Yes,
positioned
the
inside a house?
mount turns into CQB once you get into the house. Then it's CQB to clear that house out and eliminate the threat. So this is talking about everything up into the entering of the threshold into the structure, because then past that point it would be CQB. Yeah, so say this scenario right here. There's the bad guy. We're patrolling. We're using satellite patrol. They are probably going to wait, right? If they're trying to maximize and do an ambush, which is typical in the urban setting. Probably going to wait till something like that. They're going to smack, probably get a couple KIA right here. And because that's just the brutal honesty, this guy's probably going to come up here and hit this corner. This dude's either going to sprint across the street to meet his buddy just as a reaction, or he's going to run around the corner over here. We'll say he runs around the corner of this building over here. All right, so now these 2 dudes are out of the picture. I'm not going to delete them because I don't want to remake them, but they're gone. They're not there. these guys are shooting back and he is shooting at him. Immediately they're gonna that's gonna crack out. Everybody is gonna fucking hear it. They're gonna call out on the radio where the fire's coming from, what building, right? The building on the corner of Memorial and whatever fucking street this is, they would know and describe the building. It's a 3-story building coming from the second story. There's a somebody have something to say?
Yeah, GWOT. In the Marine Corps manual on MOUT, MOUT, it discusses the term phase line very, very frequently. So
Yeah.
is that just an identifiable structure where, once you reach this point, what does that mean when you approach the phase line? What do you do, and how do you what makes a good phase line?
Excellent questions that directly tie into the topic we're discussing.
Okay.
I have a whole video covering this if anybody wants to go watch it, that's watching this and they want to hear me talk ad nauseum about it. I think it's called Controlling Combat or Controlling the Chaos of Combat. Phase lines are a thing that you make. So it's just you draw a line on the map and then you name it that this is phase line 1, phase line alpha, phase line Coors Light, phase line Genesis, whatever you decide to name your shit. And what makes a good phase line is that it's a clear defined point that everybody will be able to see, right? It's not, you don't want to just draw an arbitrary phase line in the middle of a field that no one's going to be able to really tell on the ground where that is. And ideally there's some sort of rhyme or reason to it. It can literally just be as simple as like, this is a big town right here. I'll just do some phase lines. Let's do pin line, boom, red, extra thick. Right, so why do I feel like you're not working? This might be phase line red, just as like this is the entrance of the city. And then you could do, I see what happened. Phase line blue. Phase line green. This will make sense in a second, everybody. And then phase line green wasn't perfect, but that's okay. Close enough. Phase line orange. Actually, let's redo phase line green. Wonderful.
So it needs to be something easily identifiable, like a large alleyway, a large street.
Yes. So in this case, I did streets just because it's easy and it's right here. And all I've done with these phase lines is I just basically tried to chop this town into even parts. And so I would tell my units, especially if I had multiple squads and like we were doing a clear of the city, that basically to not advance past any phase line until the entire unit has caught up and they get the go ahead by the commander to call in when they've reached a phase line and hold position and hold security at that spot, because you don't want to end up with a scenario where like this team is all the way clearing houses up here, but then the other two teams are still back here, right? So
Right.
if you have like multiple squads entering the city from multiple places and stuff like that, phase lines are a big command and control because you can know that nobody is at either side or whatever of this phase line and keep everybody online. You can also it's just a thing you put on the map that doesn't exist there, so the enemy doesn't know where it's at, and then you can use it for all kinds of command and control stuff, right? If guys need resupply, you could tell them to hold at a phase line and wait for resupply, and then tell your resupply to go resupply all the troops at phase line blue, and then everybody just knows where that is. It's just a spot on the map that everybody can hold in a linear position. Same
There's
thing.
just a way to just break up the distance into increments on the way to the objective, rather than like something that
Like
everyone understands.
ORPs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just a command and control measure. It's a way.
So you don't have one squad get too far isolated and cannot support each other.
Yeah, and there's usually like different, like this, right? This is the beginning of the attack, right? So like in my order, I would be like, we'll make approach, no one will pass through phase line red. We anticipate not going hot. If at all possible, we'd like to make a stealthy approach and stage at the line of advance at phase line red, and all acknowledge with each other that we're there and ready to begin the attack before anybody goes hot. At phase line blue, we're going to need everybody to stop, radio in. Any casualties that have been sustained at that point, we will send teams back to go collect them, and they will be taken back to the CCP at phase line red. At that point, anybody will be resupplied as necessary, and once the units are all ready to go and move forward, we will begin to clear onto phase line green. And then you could, if you had like, we scale this out bigger and bigger, right? If I've got artillery and mortars and blah, 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 I can be like, cool, when we're at phase line red, you can engage all targets at phase line blue and east. When we're at phase line blue, you can engage all targets at phase line green and east. So then that all gets called over the radio, right? So when we push from phase line red, we go pushing from phase line red, advancing from phase line red, shift fires, all units, shift fires. And then everybody knows that they have their own, whether I'm talking about 240 machine guns or fucking naval gunfire, they have their own sheet of what, when the unit's at phase line red, they need to shift from these targets to these targets, so on and so forth. And without having to give all those commands, it's just a way that I can call that out at each stage.
You have SOPs like tied to each phase line. When you approach here, we all report over the radio, or do this when you reach this point, rather than, hey, just advance towards the objective. Okay, well, when do I stop?
Right. Yes, exactly.
It's like a check. It's like a mandatory check-in when you reach this spot.
You were correct when you said it's a lot like rally points or ORPs. It's kind of like a similar vibe to them.
Makes sense.
Would it be acceptable to still fire into the second story of the structure if that's where you're being engaged from, even though your friendlies are in the first floor? They just like radio, yo, we're moving to the second floor.
The crazier the situation you find yourself in, and the more likely you're all about to die, the more loose you can get with creeping fires.
Okay.
General,
Yes.
Go for it.
This is kind of a general question, but like where, I don't know, like last week we kind of got ourselves in trouble by like maybe moving a little bit too fast, faster than we can, process the environment. Where do you see people fucking up and typically making the most common mistakes?
Fucking up and making the most common mistakes. Yeah, not respecting the true 360 danger area of the urban environment, that like in a spherical, like 360 degrees, not only around you, but up and down and everywhere, there can be threats, right? There can be threats all the way up in the skyscraper sniping down at you. There could be threats, 1,000 yards in front of you down this linear danger area walking down. There could be threats in the storm drain gutter down to your ankles. Machine gun bunker set up there. Every building, every window, everything, every car. So it that is hard, and people, I think, if I'm recalling, a lot of times they will feel like structures that they're not being engaged from are like safe. And it takes some hard lessons to realize like uncleared structures are assumed dangerous at all times, which is going to be the majority of the structures always. So
I'm really happy that came up, because that was something else I was going to touch on, was like the actual just survivability, right? Like moving through an urban area like this, especially here in the United States, right? You have so many factors to consider. But I'm just saying that because it's where I live, right? I don't know. I'm sure they have like storm drains and stuff over there in other countries, but like you got to worry about that. You got to worry about, every single window facing you, which is pretty much every single house. You have to worry about first, second story. You have to worry about like the end of the streets, like you said. Every single LDA you cross, every single Like, there's nowhere you can really be because there's houses everywhere, 360 degrees everywhere around you. There's nowhere that you can really be um,
Yes,
safe, which is
outside is
obvious, and that
dangerous.
goes anywhere. Yeah,
Outside
outside
is
is dangerous.
dangerous. Yes.
That goes without saying, though. Crazy concept.
Well,
Crazy,
there's
crazy concept.
in rural areas there's a lot of cover and concealment, and you can, it's still, you still have to have 360 security, but you can, if your back's to whatever and there's a bush in front of you and you've got guys looking in each direction, then you're kind of like, all right, we're pretty safe right here right now for just a moment. That never happens in an urban environment.
Exactly.
So back zooming on Steve, right? This guy shot at us, killed 2 guys. These people engaged him. These people are trying to support them, trying to figure out what's going on, and then this team is going to maneuver, right? How would we work through that? They would come up here. The easy way would be to come up here and attack down this line so we can all just see each other, but that's also more likely that we're going to get shot at the approach, right? If we can come around and skirt and then attack and enter the back of the house, that would be ideal. But yes, that is going to cause, right? We would get up here to phase line blue and we would say, hey, we're at phase line blue. We're going to skirt phase line blue and head south. You need to cut off your suppressive fires right now, right? Because they are going to be shooting at about this angle. So really before we come down here at all. Now, that being said, if it's a complete shit show and we're outnumbered and we're trying to make some shit happen, whatever the case is, yes, you can do danger close stuff. But that always gets called out over the radio so that everybody knows to fucking triple double check their shit and be on their A game, right? So if this was a 2-story building and we were getting shot at primarily from the 2nd story, and that's a couple feet above everybody who's standing up on the ground's head, we could definitely make the call, hey, danger close. We're going to run up into that building. You continue to engage a 2nd story until we are in the building. Or even if you're a real big voice, you can say, we're going to stay on the 1st floor. We'll let you know when we're going to the 2nd. And then you also, this would be talked about prior, but you would have standard primary and secondary, so communication. So primary would be that I'm just talking to you over the radio. And then secondary would be visual cues, right? So if I can't get a hold of you over the radio, once I'm done clearing the 1st floor, I'm going to go to a window that's facing the support by fire team, and I'm going to hang outside the window a clear high vis panel, and clearly hang outside the window a high vis panel to get them to fucking see as an indicator that 1st floor is cleared. Or I could hang a green chem light out the window if it's at nighttime. But I'm gonna do some sort of big, hey, look at me. We're done here. Moving on. Shift your fires. Completely different topic, but in trench warfare, or anytime you're going to be traveling through a natural feature that's trench-like, right? A lot of times you'll literally put a fucking flag pole on the point man, which seems like crazy and against camouflage and sneakiness and all that, but you'll strap like a 10-foot fucking flagpole to the point man. And if that point man goes down, 2nd man is supposed to pick that shit up and strap it to his pack or carry it. And that is there to tell machine guns and mortars and everybody where the fucking lead trace element is so they could continue to engage and not do friendly fire. So.
Oh, in context, for when they didn't do that in Ukraine, they were fragging their own friendlies. So it definitely is something to consider.
Yes, big time.
But it does sound kind of insane. Like, yeah, let me just broadcast this beacon to the whole world, to the guy around the corner right now.
Yep. But the them getting shot by your machine guns and not you is more valuable than them knowing the exact location of the point man in those scenarios.
Of course.
Anyways, so
they don't even have like a support by fire in those instances though in the Ukraine context, but
the Ukraine lands.
I got a question.
Lands.
Let's hear it.
So green team, I assume they're in a sense holding rear security. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but is there ever a point in time where the squad or team, for lack of better words, that is holding security just needs to get online because they're facing like a lot of fire and they need to reinforce the assault force? Like, is there ever a point in time where they can just get online? And then at the downside, of course, is that no one is really holding rear security at that point. But is that just generally a bad idea, or is there ever a
Yes,
scenario where that maybe?
you wouldn't do that because you wouldn't want to be exposed, like just standing out here in the road, like
Yeah.
all stacked up shoulder to shoulder. What you would do if you wanted to get fire into that house is you would have this team, like rush up and clear into whatever building. We don't have enough definition here to see what makes sense, right? But they would like emergency clear into a building, at least deep enough into it to get to the other side, get to the windows and shit to then engage this building, right? So
Gotcha.
they would all pile in here and clear as much of it as they could, and then know like to have 360 security CQB style inside that building, inside the rooms if they didn't clear it all out, and then put a lot of fires from that structure into the other structure while these guys were
Right.
coming around.
I guess what I was getting at is, while all this is happening with the assault forces, if they have a good sense of what's going on around the objective, why not make themselves useful instead of just chilling at the back? I mean,
Yeah, that's a great
that's
question.
kind of that's kind of what I'm observing. Like, is that just a call that's made, or
It's a call that's
something that?
made. It's also it depends on what's it's just too many
What's known?
factors. Too much MET-TC, what's known, how comfortable are you with clearing? Did we have this team? If this team was already on satellite patrol and they're like literally right there, then this might go down so fast that you don't have time to really do much of anything, right? Whoever can find a piece of micro terrain and catch an angle on the ground can do it. Everybody else is going to hold tight for a second, and these guys are going to be there in like 30 seconds to start clearing that building that we're getting shot at. If we didn't have that, then yeah, we very well might have a team come up and try to clear that building, and then send this team around to maneuver, and then whoever Doc is, right, which isn't even here, right, he's going to run up and he's going to try to like get these guys that got fucked up, pull them back to some sort of CCP around the corner and start working on them, all while this is going on.
Oh, okay. I didn't think of that. So the security force can be used as a casualty to protect a casualty collection point.
Yeah, full blown
They-
like Marine Corps. We have all the official parts and pieces. Say we weren't satellite patrolling, and then this happens. We get ambushed. These two guys get shot. These guys grab the micro train. They start dumping rounds. He's gonna come up. He's gonna try to figure out what's going on. Doc's gonna rush up. They're gonna be like, "Fucking, we need to clear a building." This team's gonna go clear that building that I talked about. Maybe just 3 of them go, and 1 guy stays out here. Doc gets these guys brought into whatever the first room of that building is to start assessing and treating the casualties. This team's been moving the whole time around. We start getting a couple guys in the windows to pour some fire into this building. About that time, they let us know, "Hey, we're at phase line blue. We're about to come down. Watch your fires. Watch your fires." They come down into the building and clear it out.
Meanwhile, all of that is still like perfectly demonstrating MOUT tactics, like the whole idea of having, like, establishing fire superiority on the building, or just dumping a ton of rounds into the building and then
absolutely
moving in.
we want to isolate, suppress, obscure, and then seize. Okay, so as soon as we get shot at from this building, initial reaction is to begin to return fire, which is the initial stages of isolation. It's actually like shooting at the building is preventing this guy from being like, "I'm good, I can just run out into the street and like run away." Right now, rounds are coming into this house. He's kind of like locked down into the room he is. And as this team comes up and they get their shit together, whether they put another couple guys, if there's good micro train out here, or they're forced to go clear a building and then put fires on this, that's what they're further isolating that building, right? So now we have multiple angles on it. He can't come out this street. He can't come out this street. The only way he can maybe come is down this back street. But then also, if that's where blue team is going to come around, then we've also isolated this back street. So now this guy that's been shooting at us can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. He's been isolated. He's isolated in this building. He can't get out, and other people can't get in without going through a wall of fire. Then, when these guys are like, "All right, hey, we're ready to turn the corner and begin to make entry from where we are into the building," they're going to call that over the radio. And that's when these guys are going to begin to suppress. They're going to put a fucking shit ton of heat into this building. And then whoever has or can do smokes in this scenario, if these guys are coming up here, it's going to be on them, right? They're going to creep up, and probably when they're right here at like the limit of this building, they're going to toss a bunch
Shit
of
fired a
fucking
second story or something.
toss a bunch of smokes right here. Let everybody know, okay, we're pushing into the building, and then they're going to do a running stack from that last piece of cover through the obscured smoke into the building and begin to clear it.
When you say a running stack, I haven't heard that term before. Would you mind explaining that?
It's literally just running in a
Yes.
stack
You
to the building.
yes, it's so obviously you can't run in a stack in the sense that we're all nut to butt grabbing each other's
Yeah,
shoulders,
no.
but in the sense that we are literally running and we know we can't trip each other, and so we've all ran before with people around us and we understand the spacing that means. But given that reality, we're trying to stay as close to each other as we can. We're not 30 yards away from each other. We're all right here, and the point is that it's not safe. We can't just go from this piece of cover, walk up to the building, stand the fuck outside the building like we're LAPD for half an hour, and fucking check our watches and figure our shit out, and then go in, because all these buildings are uncleared. For all we know, there's another fucking team as soon as we get out here exposed to try to make entry into this building. Some asshole's going to shoot at us from here. So from our last piece of quote unquote safe cover, we have to obscure it, receive suppression from our friendly supporting units, and then close that distance from that piece of cover, whether it's the neighbor's house, it's the ditch across the road, it's a car parked in the driveway, whatever the fuck the last piece of cover and concealment is. We're going to move from that at a high rate of speed up to the door. Initial man is going to make breach on that door, and then we're all just going to flow through as close and as fast as we can do it. And it's not going to be super beautiful, right? We're not going to all flow into that room because we didn't stack out nut to butt outside of it. So it's not going to be bam, 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 bam. It's going to be bam, 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 bam through the doorway. But that's a lot better than getting hemmed up by medium machine guns standing outside in a stack.
Yeah, that's like the whole point of being.
Or having somebody toss a grenade out the second story window into our laps and having all four of us blow up from a single hand grenade.
That's kind of why there's not a lot of slack is choked up when you're running in the stack, because obviously you guys are about to go inside a building, so you want to have everybody there for the actual entry initially.
Yep, and that's just whether you're the difference between a running stack and a paused stack, or whatever the fuck you want to call it out, like actually stacking outside of the house, is whether you control and dominate the area surrounding it or not, right? So when the LAPD is going to serve a search warrant, they have reasonable control of all the spaces around them. They don't expect 6 houses on that street to start shooting at them through their windows. So they can go ahead. They can go ahead and take their time and stack up. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes this isn't, this isn't Ramadi or Fallujah. North Korea didn't just come in here. Whatever. This is an area. We've generally controlled it. We're coming up to this building to do a raid, and we've pre-planned this, and we've gotten all the way up to the objective, and nobody's gone loud yet, and we're able to actually walk up there, stack outside the door for a second, breach it, and make entry. And that's cool, and that's good, and we'll do that. But if before we get to the house, there's already fucking RPGs and bullets going off and hand grenades and shit and smoke grenades being fucking pulled, then there's no stacking up paused outside the house before we make entry.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, speed is security at that point.
Exactly.
It's way more complex and way, a lot more to consider in an urban environment where you have, civilians that may or may not be aiding terrorists or hiding them or be terrorists themselves in disguise.
Yep.
You don't know. Is that building it's not just, Farmer Joe, my good old neighbor, like any house could be a threat in a war, like in Iraq, Ramadi, any structure could hold a threat, even, if there were civilians. Whereas here, like the LAPD example you used, you know what house it's generally one person.
Yep.
And you know where you're gonna take fire from.
And even if it was a terrible, crazy day for the cops and there was a house across the street that shot at them, then they would just get in their Bearcat and call 50 more cops to come and then raid both those houses. Mm-hmm. So the point is that they do control the exterior environment. So they can do whatever the fuck they want out there.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I really think that covers it. Bumping linear danger areas, lots of coordinating and controlling, isolate, suppress, obscure seas, satellite patrols. Anybody got any other questions about something I didn't talk about, or anybody that knows a thing or two, know something I'm forgetting?
Vehicles. Tracking the contact in a vehicle.
Vehicles fucking suck, right? So
If you even survive, the initial engagement.
everybody
That's
keeps everybody and
annihilated.
I need to just make this video, which is basically going to be, the internet's going to be all mad at me again. I'm about to pop everybody's fucking Mad Max hopes and dreams, just like I popped all their FRT hopes and dreams. Vehicles fucking suck. Vehicles, this idea that we're like driving Humvees like into the assault position or whatever, is not real. Even when you do have an MRAP or an MATV, which is like a fucking tank truck, you're not.
Okay, hold on.
You're not like
concealed carrying, and you're in a vehicle, and you start getting lit up,
Yeah.
the fuck up, because you're in a neighborhood where they don't want you, and it's like you and maybe 3 other guys,
Yeah.
and y'all maybe have like a PDW or a rifle or a handgun.
You need to.
How would you go about that?
First,
if you even survive?
Mash the accelerator, first of all, no matter what your next steps are going to be. You have to get out of the kill zone. Stopping in the kill zone is not a good idea. James Yeager learned that lesson long ago. Those who know. Lols.
You gotta get out, bro. You gotta do the flat range drill. Come on, you gotta use your car door as cover.
Yeah,
minimize your exposure on the hood. Nah.
Yeah, it's not. You don't want to get all that stuff of like using your vehicle for cover caught in a kill zone is if your vehicle gets killed in the kill zone. If somebody sticks a fucking 50 BMG through your engine block or an RPG into the front end of your car, well, then your car will not leave the kill zone. So now you're in the fucking kill zone. You got to deal with that. But if the car works,
probably not gonna get out.
If the car works, you should use the car to leave the spot where the machine guns are shooting at you as fast as you can.
We don't have armored vehicles.
Even if you have armored vehicles. If you have armored vehicles. Here you go, internet. You want your vehicle class? Here's your vehicle class. We are now a mobile assault platoon.
What have I done?
We have 8 fucking trucks.
Hell yeah, bonus round. Let's go.
Which one's the soccer mom van?
No, these are fucking all like MRAP, MATV. This is real deal. Which is my point. Because then even if it's crazy, whatever. Let me make my points. Say we're driving through whatever, and this fucking guy shoots at us. Right? We're not gonna stop. God damn it. We're not gonna stop in this kill zone. We're gonna drive all the fuck way through out of the kill zone. And then if we want to do something about this, we're going to, once we're out of the kill zone, it's vehicles, but it's the same idea as on foot patrol, right? We're then going to take 2 trucks and we're going to put them, or as many as we can, right? If it was an open field, we would get 4 trucks online, and they would be support by fire, right? So with their turrets, they're going to be shooting. Dismounts will get out and set up security perimeters here, possibly even helping engage with support by fire. And then these guys are just going to maneuver. They're going to drive their trucks just like we would have maneuvered with a satellite patrol around. And then once they get to a better position, right, they're going to get somewhere like here, and then they're going to stop. And then they're going to push dismounts out. So now this guy has 1, 2 trucks shooting at it with medium or heavy machine guns, and then 3, 4 trucks shooting at it from a different angle with heavy or medium machine guns. And then a bunch of dismounts are going to come and clear out that building. Okay. So if you're in soft shell vehicles that don't have medium or heavy machine guns on top of them, you can't even really do that. You basically, all you can do is drive the fuck away. And then if for whatever reason the mission is to shoot the bad guys or whatever, so you have to go get them, you'll just dismount. So if these were all soft shells, we would just drive all the way out of the kill zone and then stop. And then some people would set up here and do a support by fire dismounted. And then maybe these trucks drive us like to here, and then they dismount, and then they close with and clear out the building, because they have no ability to fight. And they are also bullet sponges. And you notice how I talked about every time a truck stopped, it pushed dismounts to set up a security perimeter? Because if you don't do that, if you just park a truck there and there are no dismounts to secure it, or you don't push them, and somebody's gonna fucking throw a frag
Yeah, IDF
underneath of
tank
you.
video.
Yeah, or they're gonna fucking smack a fucking RPG at you from the fucking 10 feet away in the alleyway or some shit. They are fucking bullet sponges. They are not that tough. They fucking like everyone.
Hamas drops a cardboard box into a tank. Yeah,
Everybody's
levels the whole tank.
everybody
Everyone
likes.
inside.
Everybody's so hot to trot for vehicles. Like they're really not it. They're super exposed. Always have to be supported with dismounts. And even in like large scale battle planning and stuff, you're not like, all right, then the assault team's going to load up in the MRAP and they're going to drive up into the driveway of the target house and hop out and then like run in. Like you never do that. The trucks are always like if this was our attack plan, the trucks would be like fucking in a screening position over here. And like fucking over here. That's where the trucks would be. And then all of the foot guys would come and clear out the town. Because like whatever truck we drive up the fuck into here is not going to drive out by the end of the day.
Hey,
And
y'all.
that-
I got to roll.
See you later,
Yep.
Phil.
Later,
Thanks for
See you,
joining
man.
us.
Cool. Y'all take care.
You too, bro.
I'll get pushy about the
I hope
scenario
you-
later and be in touch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I hope you get it back and you don't have to buy another one.
All right. You have any other questions, Steve?
No, that was I mean, I feel like I'm happy that Hunt hopped in here and had some questions as well because there were some good points to be made
I
from that.
always have questions, buddy.
Yeah, it was like I was trying, they weren't necessarily even really questions for myself. It was more of just reinforcement of certain things. I also just for the internet wanted there to be like, you know, a coverage of all these different potentialities that could occur in an urban environment, especially one where most of us live, and just how that would be gone about, how that would be handled, why, and you know, different methods that could be, you know, deployed given the circumstance, whatever. Again, it's all METTC dependent as always, because that's, you know, talk about the internet is the big internet thing. METTC, most people don't even know, you know, mission, enemy, troops, terrain, time, environment, circumstance, you know, can't even tell you the acronym, but it's still definitely very important, the concept of METTC, and that's what made it hard for me to ask questions, because I wanted to start at the stream like asking questions initially to set the stage and give context as to like how we would even get here, and then from there, you know, building upon it and say like, okay, what if we were in this situation? So we're a foot patrol and now we're in vehicles, right? Even though it's like you probably would never want to do that because it's suicidal, still it can be done. This is how it would be done, and it's very similar to how it was done when we were on foot, just slightly different, and depends like armored, not armored vehicles, right? Like just everything, even though they may never actually be done, obviously it's just kind of like knowing all the rules so you can break them kind of thing. Even if it's not applicable to you, it's still good to know, because if it ever was, obviously, right, that's like the whole philosophy. If it ever did occur, you would know how to handle it, how to go about it. So it's good stuff to know. And I feel like I'm satisfied with what was covered tonight. Very happy with it. So no, I have no more questions. Thank you
So you-
for dedicating the TDG to it though, and answering all the questions I did have. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I arrived late. I thought it was pretty good. One question or just recommendation I have for the future. Just an observation that I have. Most of the TDGs, it seems like it's always 2, 3, 4 squads. What if like we host a TDG where it's you got 3 or 4 dudes and that's it? Because in reality, that's all you may have when you have to react to something. Or am I thinking about this the wrong way? And that if you have 4 dudes, you're not doing shit. But I don't think that way, because if something happens in my neighborhood and I have 2 or 3 neighbors that I can count on that I train with, and that's all that most of us may have, like if that, how do you operate with 3 dudes, not 3 or 4 squads of dudes? but 3 or 4 guys, period. What do you do? How do you move? What does
I
that
meant
look
the
like?
you asked and not me. I
Yeah.
refuse to ask this question.
That's just an idea that I
No,
had for
yeah.
what.
Yeah,
'Cause,
absolutely. I'll touch
I
on
mean,
it
like,
now, and we can
yeah,
definitely cover it. First of all, just to directly answer the question about like the TDGs and what can or can't be done, you can do TDGs on any level, right? So you could do TDGs as just like you're one guy at the shopping mall and this happens. What would you do, right? We could do those TDGs, and
like we're in GWOT's backyard,
yeah,
dying some
The
deer
4 players are the voices in your
and
head.
barbecuing,
Like...
and yeah,
yeah, for sure.
and
And
there's
we could zoom this all the way out too, and make you like in charge of the entire Allied forces in Europe or whatever, and you have to like move divisions around and things, right? So there's no set scale of the practice of TDGing, if you will.
yeah.
Yeah, we definitely can do one with lesser numbers. You're right. We have been doing like squad and platoon size stuff for a long time. I do feel that's kind of a sweet spot, but I have no problem jumping down to team tactics. And yeah, you just change your mission sets, but you can still do defensive or reconnaissance or aggressive missions. They're just going to be different types of missions. And you're right, your movement and stuff is going to be different. Again, yes, of
But
course.
overall, it's just scaled down. It's
Yeah,
not,
it's just scaled down.
It's just the same.
Yes, and
There's going to be different capabilities and possibilities that you may have with less men.
Yes. So reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, and then passing that along to higher, or holding it until you come across somebody you can pass it along, can be done even on an individual scale. Harassing fire can be done even on an individual scale. Sabotage can be done even on an individual scale. So, you're not going to conduct any like movement to contact drills and do a big direct attack or whatever and take a bunch of ground with 3 guys, but that doesn't mean you can't do anything and can't be useful and can't get busy if you need to.
Right.
Yeah,
Definitely.
someone who studied a lot of... Oh, you go
No,
ahead.
go for it. I was just going to say you have to lean, right? You as a smaller size unit, you're going to have just inherently way more stealth, but way more violence, and also way more speed and way more command and control. So, utilize those things. Utilize the fact that you can move super fast and not lose control of your unit, and you can move super fast and have a super small footprint, right? Like 3 dudes can slip in and out of somewhere unnoticed, as opposed to 50 guys. If I'm going to march 50 dudes through somewhere, whatever the scenario is, through the woods, through the shopping mall, down the middle of a town, whatever the case is, 20, 30, 50 guys, you're not going unnoticed.
Yeah, you're totally
people
right.
are going to fucking see you. Go
this
for it.
example is a completely different terrain, but I've been listening to a lot of like Vietnam LARP and some like the MaxOG V interviews. But I mean, these guys were 4 to 6 man teams, and I'm questioning like how were they able to do this undetected and just like walk up on a full platoon and like sneak out. Well, it's 4 guys,
And you do bound,
and their main objective is not to start a firefight. If they have to, they would break contact. Their main objective is to really find the bad guys and report that to what they call it, like a hatchet force that will then come in. Yeah, but it's 4 guys. That's how you're able to.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and part of that, so you would move stealth movement would be super slow, and it would be always covered movement, right? So whatever, I've got 4 guys here and 2 buddy pairs. Could be 6 guys, could be 2 guys, could be 3 guys, whatever. Same concept. Right, so 2 guys are going to move, likely from like one piece of cover to another piece of cover, or concealment to another piece of concealment, more than like a set distance, but obviously not insane. They're not going to walk 300 yards or anything crazy. They're going to walk from one piece of cover to the other, and then the whole time they're walking, these guys are sitting still, watching them walk and looking around everywhere. Like, so if somebody starts reacting to the fact that there's people moving, these guys are there to see that and do something about it immediately. Yeah. And then once these guys stop and they get settled, then you do like a little sills, right? So they stop, and then you just let no movement happen for a moment, for whatever, 30 seconds, a minute. Obviously, MET-TC could extend or shorten this. And then this crew, the other half, gets up and they move to the next piece of concealment, and then they stay, and they let no movement happen for a little bit, so on and so forth. So it's very easy. It's only literally 1 or 2 guys or whatever moving at a time ever, and it's just from one piece of hiding spot to another piece of hiding spot while somebody watches and observes that movement. And then, like you said, something happens, right? These guys are creeping along to the next one. Oh my goodness, enemy pops up here. And so we'll all just immediately dump 2 or 3 mags or whatever without having to be told that's what we're supposed to do. And then whoever patrol leader is will shout out like 300 yards east. And then everybody just sprints 300 yards east through the brush, right? And then we get together and I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. 400 yards north. Let's go now. And then we all just sprint 400 yards north. And this whatever platoon we came in contact with, the point team, they shot at us. We dumped a bunch of rounds, killed the point man, and then now poof, like smoke, we're like a click away from that spot. And these guys are just coming up, looking at our pile of brass where our initial contact zone was.
Yep.
That's actually amazing. I'm happy that you asked that question because that is
yeah,
the reality we are faced with. Limited manpower.
Yeah, again, like completely different terrain. The example that I used, we're talking about jungle with like very, very, low exposure, but I assumed that the concept was the same, and you kind of explained that pretty well.
Hang on, I wanna jump in real quick with something. Because we're on this topic. I discovered the GWOT-Alchemist channel about like a year and a half ago. So it was before the guerrilla warfare series, but I was so hyped whenever he started it, even though it took him like a while to actually get the rest of the videos out. It doesn't matter. I was hyped knowing that he was gonna cover guerrilla warfare. Why? Because it was like, for me, I had kind of the realization you did, right? And I gotta be really careful how I word this actually, now that I think about it. But the realization you did, hello, Couch Lord, say nothing. We're on the internet.
We are live on the internet.
We are live on the internet. Say nothing. So we pretty much I had the same realization you did, and it was like, oh yeah, all of these like large scale platoon level or like squad level fire team, whatever, like all of this stuff in the military context, like how can I do that if I ever needed to? Hypothetically, I can't. Like I don't have the connections at the time. I don't have the networking, and like even then, still not the manpower to carry out anything like this. So obviously, guerrilla warfare was like the answer. The concepts of guerrilla warfare, different lessons that could be learned from what what different groups have done throughout history, right? And the effectiveness of it all. And like Jiwa was saying, the best part is most of it can all be done pretty efficiently on an individual level, right? You don't necessarily need a ton of people to actually get things done. But again, like because we keep saying MTC, it heavily depends. But I think that's really, again, the answer without saying anything crazy over the internet.
No, yeah.
Just like you're gonna go to very, very, very unconventional means to accomplish something. But it can be done with like very limited manpower. But again, you're like avoiding the fight, right? Like that's the fight you win, the one you never have.
Definitely.
And it's definitely like the answer in the context, hypothetically, if you don't have manpower, that's the route or the avenue you would most likely want to go.
Which is a big reason why I have 2 things to say in opposite directions about this. The primary reason I'm a huge SPR fanboy is because all by myself, with me and my SPR and my long-range accoutrement tools, I can do the world's greatest harassing fire that they've ever seen, and I can do mad reconnaissance, so much recon, right? So even if everybody's gay but me, I can still fucking get busy because I have that specific tool set and all that shit, skill set, tools and skill set.
Yo, GWOT, what is your scope and barrel length for that?
I have a Night Force 4-16 attacker, and I is on a 16-inch barreled upper right now, and I have effectively shot out to 700 yards with it.
Damn.
The world's best, the world's best harassing fire they've ever seen, bro.
Yeah, and
that would be pretty dope.
And then, but then on the complete other side, right? I think, especially if it's like crazy stuff, zombies or Russia invades or the government becomes crazy, overtly tyrannical or something, that in those more extreme, less likely scenarios, but when you would need the manpower in those more extreme scenarios, the manpower is likely to show up, right? Like, put it in a completely different terminology, not completely different, but a slightly different terminology, right? There is no standing like civilian rescue force, right? There's no current like standing, they all get together and meet and they all know what radio frequencies to have and they have colors picked out and rank structure and like of like guys that will go when natural disasters happen and help people. But yet every time all across the country there's any sort of a natural disaster, immediately thousands and thousands and thousands of equipped, skilled, and able-bodied men descend upon that location, begin to organize, and begin to take care of business, right? So that will also happen in a slightly different scenario with more violence, if necessary, in my opinion. But should it not? Yes, guerrilla warfare would be the answer.
Very good.
Yes. Wonderful.
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 Does that relate to your idea about FRTs? Like, what is your opinion about FRTs?
Oh, hi, Jake. What's going on?
What's up, Herquin?
Yeah. So what is my opinion on FRTs? Pretty simple. The thing that separates a machine gun from a not machine gun is not its ability to shoot fully automatic. It's that whether it has a closed bolt or an open bolt system. An open bolt system is a machine gun. That makes it a machine gun because it does not put a round in the chamber when the barrel is hot, right? So if I shoot, I shoot a bunch, machine gun time, so many rounds shooting. Now my barrel is very hot. If it's a closed bolt weapon system and the bolt closes at rest and locks around in the chamber, even if it's not hot enough to instantly cook off, which is what the internet is obsessed with burn down videos, arguably even more dangerous than that. If I'm with all my homies and we're scratting up this place and we're all shooting a bunch of rounds and we're like, all right, we got to roll. Let's roll right now. Let's move. And so I fucking put my gun on safe and I go to run away, but my barrel's super hot and there's a round sitting in that chamber. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds later, it's going to just start fucking shooting all on its own, randomly, unexpected. Wherever that fucking muzzle's pointed around all my homies, bullets just start fucking coming out of it. Because the round started cooking off, like the gunpowder over time reach temperature in the chamber in a closed bolt system. A machine gun won't do that because when you put your weapon on safe and stand up and run away with it, the bolt is locked in the rear position, held that way by a safety pin, with rounds on the feed tray, but no round in the chamber. So it can't cause a round to cook off, have a delayed cook off in its safe standing configuration. So how good you make your trigger, you can make your AR shoot a bunch. You put all the fucking heat sinks in the world you want on that motherfucker. Real quick, a standard AR is 4 magazines. At 4.5 magazines, you will start to induce cook-offs with a standard government profile barrel AR-15. So whatever the coolest FRT, red right hand, most heat dispersing thing, maybe you get 6 mags or something. But the point being, you're not gonna be able to do duration volume suppression with it because you're gonna have closed chamber cook-off issues. Go for it.
I was going to say it's not just that, and you've touched on this before, because the purpose of the machine gun, correct me if I'm wrong, is the suppression. But you've mentioned that since us being civilians, we don't have access to belt feds, and we're going to have to carry a lot more gear as guerrilla fighters. That we're not going to have vehicles lugging around extra fucking ammo and mags. Like, we got to carry everything on us. So
Logistics.
the ammo that we do have,
Logistics are a huge
aspect
thing
of it matters.
as
and
well.
you've said that you feel that the SPR is the guerrilla fighters
Best friend, essentially.
machine gun, leaning more into the precision aspect and the long range harassing fire.
Yes. So suppression can happen through volume or accuracy. I know you know this, to everybody else that's watching. Suppression can happen through volume or accuracy, right? If I'm sitting in a foxhole or if I'm sitting behind a tree and I think I want to run to that other tree, but I look up and there's 500 rounds flying through the air because machine guns are shooting at me, I'll be like, ooh, bad idea. I'm not going to run through that. Also, if every time I peek around the tree gets smacked with a round and I know that if I stick my head out there longer than a quarter of a second, it's going to get ripped off my fucking shoulders. I'm very unenticed to run from this tree to another. I'm highly suppressed behind this tree, even if rounds aren't actively nonstop being shot at me.
Deadliest game of whack-a-mole you've ever played.
Yes. So a big reason why the military leans on machine guns is because I can take somebody that's never fucking done guns before and get them good enough to operate a machine gun and suppress the enemy in literally weeks. It's going to take months, if not years, to take somebody that's never shot a gun before and get them good enough to use an SPR in the same effect on the enemy, right? So the skill requirement for precision fire over volume is much higher, which is why the military that needs to do this all over the place with a bunch of people continually churning them in and out relies on the volume of fire. Now, the Marine...
also think...
Go for it.
Sorry. I also think that guys, like, they'll build a rifle, they'll throw an LPVO on it, or, so they're 2 to 12, whatever, but they still don't have the mindset, and they don't after shooting with you, I really understood, wow, you have a Kestrel, wow, you have a dope card, wow, you literally group all your ammo, you hand load. Not saying you have to do all that, but if you're not doing that, then why are you running a precision optic? And I feel that more often than not, the people that you see with precision optics, they don't have the mindset. They're not ready. They're not doing their homework on it. There's a much higher skill ceiling, and a lot of it is like figuring out what load groups best. And like on your dope card, you literally have your holds in a 30-degree environment, 30-degree Fahrenheit, 70 degree and 100 degrees. Like, you've truly done your homework on it. But I've just observed a lot of people, they think it's as easy as just, oh yeah, just get something with some good glass and good magnification and work on your fundamentals, and that's it. No, there's a lot of homework. There's a lot of that's all I gotta say. I don't really see the level of dedication when most people try to build a precision rifle.
There's definitely a lot to it, and the
To get the most out of it.
more steps you take, and it's funny you say all that, because even I feel like I leave a lot out of it, because I kind of learned precision from like the precision bolt gun world, and then put that into SPRing. So I'm used to motherfuckers going like crazy out the ass with their ritualistic shit that they do, anal retention to detail and stuff. Yeah, the more steps you take, the more accurate you're going to be. Definitely just the guy that threw a 2 to 12 on there, he's going to be more accurate than if he would have had a red dot. He'll be able to see his rounds and adjust, and have some hope of perhaps doing that, whereas otherwise he wouldn't have had any hope. But yes, if you want to be that guy that's smacking that tree and will take that dude's head off his shoulders when he pops it out, you're going to have to be on your A game for sure. It's not just going to happen when that day comes. And I point to, on this whole topic, the Marine Corps went to the IAR over the SAW, and then pretty rapidly after that, they went to everybody having an HK-416, quote unquote, the IAR. There's still one guy who's billeted as the automatic rifleman, but everybody carries a rifle, that's set up the same.
But it seems like people are forgetting that these are piston guns, and they're going to keep the chamber pressure a lot cooler than
that's
us
also a
running around
factor.
with all of our DI, with everyone. Like, who do you know that has a piston AR? Like, I don't know.
Not a lot of people, and there's also a good reason for that, generally speaking.
And they're expensive as shit too. So
Yes.
I mean, I think people that are running the FRTs forget that the Marine Corps went with the IAR, and they may be able to have a pretty sustained fire for mag after mag, but it's a piston gun. It's going to keep all of that heat.
They also use it. They also use it in the way that I've been describing. Like, it is a piston, so it does help. Perhaps puts it on par with maybe a red right hand or something like that. But they employ it primarily more like an SPR, right? So it's got a 1 to 6 VCOG on it, and it's a highly accurate system. Not in the civilian world, we don't probably think of an HK-416 as like a crazy accurate rifle, but compared to the M16s and the M4s that were clapped out as fuck that the Marine Corps had before they got all new HK-416s, I mean, the M4s and the M16A4s didn't even have free floating barrels. So, you know what I'm saying? The HK-416 is a much more accurate system. They put a 1 to 6 optic on it that has a better, point target reticle than the ACOG did. And they are all active duty Marines, so they're able to get them all schooled up and trained and keep them trained and get them to the range and keep them at the range. And what they've done is, in preparation for possible Pacific Island warfare that is going to have extremely limited logistics and small numbers of ground forces securing areas, they have went away from big belt-fed machine guns that chew through thousands and thousands of rounds for volume of fire and leaned more towards accurate fire, especially at longer distances with lower amounts of ammunition expended. And here's where FRTs can come into play. Here's what they can do. Especially if everybody has one, the whole fucking crew or most guys in the crew. Yes, in that mad minute when you get ambushed or whatever in that scenario, and everybody can flip over to full auto and dump 1 to 2 mags, that does put a bunch of rounds downrange across the entire team or squad, and that will help you gain fire superiority for that 30-second, 60-second mad minute.
Or if you're in a defensive position where you have plenty of ammunition, but even then, that doesn't take away the risk of
Yes.
the cook-off.
It gives you that
yeah.
ability to burn the fucking rifle to shit as you die, if that happens to you. As you're being overran and these are your final moments, yes, you can spit more bullets out the end of it. But you wouldn't do that unless you were like literally being overran, because you wouldn't want to fry your gun and fuck it up, and then now you can't fight anymore because your rifle's all fucked. So, and also,
not to get you off topic, but when you talk about accuracy, like obviously free floating barrels, harmonics, rifling, getting fucking jacked over time. Is it possible to shoot like single shot precision shots with like a saw, 20-inch barrel saw? Is that even a thing? Like, could you?
No, not on like a point target. No.
If it's a belt,
No.
it'll malfunction. I'm pretty sure.
You can squeeze off single shot rounds. The gun doesn't like it, and it can induce a jam, but you're not going to have point target accuracy.
Gotcha.
Another like whatever the downside, I guess machine gunners would say, not because of machine gun gunnery, but it's a whole nother topic. Part of making an open bolt system is that it's going to inherently be less accurate than a closed bolt system. Also, real quick, machine gun gunnery, they're not trying to shoot point targets. Like, they're never like aiming at a person to shoot them. It's not the point of a machine gun. And they don't want, so they wouldn't even if you could build an open bolt system to be like laser beam sniper accurate, you wouldn't want it, because what you want is for like hammer down on, like hold the trigger back and hammer down on it and spit out whatever 5, 10, 15 rounds and have all those rounds land in a reliable cone of fire. And as the distance from your gun extends, that the spread of those rounds, the diameter of that cone also extends. And that's on purpose, because you want the machine gun is to hold down an area target. I'm not shooting at that guy behind the tree trying to suppress him with a machine gun. I'm shooting at that big clump of trees where all those guys are in with my machine gun to keep them all suppressed.
And kind of like area denial as well.
Right, exactly, yes.
But so would you say, the follow-up question is that, would you say that the introduction of the IAR adds that increased versatility where, yes, you can, dump rounds downrange, albeit not as effectively as a belt fed, but you can also take precise shots and you have the glass to back it up as well. You free floated barrel, yada, yada, yada.
So
whereas with a belt fed, you don't really have that capability.
So the other thing, talking about the Marine Corps, is they still have 240s and they still have M250 cals, right? But we're talking about foot mobile suppression operations. They still have 240s. So if they're like doing reconnaissance, or they're stretched super thin and they just have like squads holding down islands with man-pad fucking rocket launchers and shit like that, then a lot of their patrolling and their day-to-day operations are going to be accuracy focused over volume, and they're going to really save on logistics and keep everybody using the same gun, the same parts, the same ammo, all that. But if they ever need to be in a linear defense or conduct a dedicated attack where they know they're going to need a support by fire, whatever the case is. That's when they can pull out the 240s and utilize the machine guns in their machine gun gunnery. And us citizens do not have access to that.
Right. So that's where we lean on precision, ideally.
Would lean. The best thing I can come up with is trying to basically recreate that with a small team, like 3 to 6 guys with SPRs, accurized systems, but can still toss down a couple rounds pretty quick if they need to. And yeah, if everybody's on their A game, that could definitely lock down a pretty good area, make it pretty shitty to try to run through there.
Yeah, I've been toying with the idea of, I've talked to you a bit about it, replacing my ACOG, not getting rid of it, but throwing it on another one. But at the same time, I feel like the barrel profile on my 14.5 is not ideal for an SPR. It is the enhanced lightweight barrel, the VCM barrel.
Yeah.
I feel like if I want to build an SPR, it's going to be with a match grade heavy barrel or something with, a barrel profile that's more suited for precision.
Sure.
So I think I'm going to leave my 14.5 alone, and long term
it's a balance.
an SPR.
Yeah, it's a balancing game talking about gear now, which I don't really like to do, but we'll go ahead and chat. It's late into the night.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay. It's just because everybody else and their mom loves to do it. The more rigid you can make the entire upper receiver, the more accurate the system's going to be. Now, that's a dangerous game to play with weight and balancing and knowing that this is like a rifle I'm going to carry and use and shoulder. But getting like a beefed up handguard, getting a beefed up handguard that has a handguard, like a bigger, more secure handguard, or was it barrel nut? That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
And then as well as if you want to go down the road, Voltor, and I think some other people as well, make enhanced upper receivers. So the upper receiver has more beef to it. It's bigger than the standard upper receiver, so it's got more rigidity. So a heavier barrel, better barrel nut, stiffer handguard, stiffer upper receiver is going to make that whole thing be more rigid, which is going to give you more repeatable harmonics, accuracy.
Yeah, I just realized like that barrel, it's just not the upper for it.
Yeah, it's probably
that's kind of the conclusion I came to. I'm gonna leave it alone. I like it.
I would probably agree. It's a nice rifle the way it's set up right now. Absolutely.
Yeah, Hunt. I rebarreled my BCM 16 ELW, so it's a lot like your gun.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I would have just bought a new upper.
Yeah.
Because I bought a Criterion barrel, which is actually probably twice as accurate as the ELW.
Wow. That's what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, the Criterion core. I did the 20-inch. In hindsight, I might have done shorter, but honestly, I like it too. I would just do a whole new upper. That's my opinion.
Yep. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Plus, like, laser suppressor starts getting real heavy, and I just want to build an upper that's just basically a bipod, some good glass, and maybe a weapon light. That's it.
Yeah.
My 14.5's got. Yeah. Anyways, not trying to go down the gear.
No, you're good, boss. You're good, boss. No, you're totally fine, dude.
I guess what I was getting at is, like I said, I really do believe this, that like a lot of people they think getting the LPVO or MPVO, whatever, that's all that it takes. It's just, now I've got the magnification. Let me work on my fundamentals. But
in
what
all
I've
things,
observed is there's a lot of homework, and most people aren't willing to put the time into it. And they're like, fuck it. This ammo's got great reviews. I'm going to buy it. Well, have you grouped it? Have you bought like 5 or 6 different loads and grouped it and found what ammo your barrel likes? Most people don't put that effort in.
Yes, this is not only with SPR stuff, but just across the board in this industry, and honestly, in our greater society and all hobbies, I would imagine. It's people just want to buy and collect the stuff. They don't actually want to do the things, especially the like boring things, right? Everybody wants to just go to everybody wants to go to live fire range day and do bill drills. Nobody wants to sit in their living room and do 1,000 speed reloads while they watch TV. No one wants to go group a bunch of rounds with their SPR. No one wants to stay up all night crunching a bunch of numbers based off different temperature settings and environments for the round that they've selected. That shit's fucking boring, dude. But yeah,
I mean, I like it. I'm super analytical, but perhaps a bit too much and overthink things that may not matter. What really matters is like getting out there and using the gear, like you said, but you can't neglect the homework and the
definitely.
research that's something that you really have to put in. And if you're not willing to, then maybe you're better off with a dot and a magnifier or a
No, big
fucking
time. Yeah.
yeah.
What I tell everybody, for the two people that are listening to this, that this applies to at this point, right? If you're just starting out, buy a basic rifle, barrel length doesn't matter, whatever, 12 and a half, 14 and a half, 16, whatever floats your fancy. Just get a red dot for it and shoot that gun until you are beyond its capabilities. Until you're like, I want a better optic so that I can hit that target that's further because I know I can. I just can't do it with this gun. That's when you can be like, now time to learn about SPR, time to learn about all this other stuff, right? If you're just starting out, you don't need to build the most complicated gun. You don't need to build a bunch of different guns. Just build yourself a basic red dot rifleman rifle. Shoot that bad boy for at least a few months, if not maybe a couple years, depending on how many rounds a month you get out. And don't be in a rush to move into spend a bunch of money on gear that you don't even know how to use or can't properly employ.
Well said. Yeah. And like that's another thing about the FRT. Like fucking ammo is expensive, man.
Yep. If you're buying an FRT, it should come along with at least the understanding that you're going to buy. I would say like a minimum of 10,000 rounds of whatever your bulk round of choice is going to be.
And I've never shot a rifle with an FRT installed. And I could be totally wrong about this, but I presume that the break is not as clean as like your Geisley or my LaRue
Yes.
trigger. I mean, there's no way. And that really matters when you're trying to shoot precise shots. But I could be totally wrong. I would find it hard to believe.
I think they're getting better and
FRT
better, but yes, I've heard the same, that they're definitely not super awesome accurate triggers, like performance triggers or anything.
Gotcha. I have an SSAE that I converted to run on FRT.
Yeah.
And it feels just as good.
Okay.
Nice.
Very well. There you go. You heard it here live and in color, folks.
Nice.
You have to be really careful, like a tiny bit of metal off the corner.
And that's that. And then here's the other thing about FRTs that I don't like is that they take a bunch of fine tuning, and it's always somebody says some shit like that I just heard that makes me go,
yeah,
I don't know if I want that in my service rifle. Oh, you just got to take just a little bit off, not too much, because then it won't work. I'm like, I'll just take the trigger that works every time. Thanks.
I assume that if it breaks, it's like, well, hopefully it will just work in semi at least.
Hopefully, friend.
I feel like too. The last time I shot at the range, and I sent GWOT, I sent you a video of this, but I've been really practicing, not just shooting one single precise shot, but shooting a string of shots rapidly, trying to hit, a C zone area, and I was pretty successful at it. I feel like you don't need an FRT, depending on the distance and the size of the target. You don't need an FRT.
You can shoot a lot of rounds pretty fast in semi-automatic, especially with a little bit of practice. You can really start to close that gap.
Yeah, and have
arguably shoot more accurately. Yeah, exactly.
You're thinking about that trigger pull. Like as soon as you restabilize your sight picture and recover from the recoil from the previous shot, you are thinking about that next trigger pull. Whereas with a fully automatic system, you're just like trying to hold it as stable as possible and minimize as much of the flow, the drifting. And I don't know, I feel like you have way more control when you're shooting in semi.
Definitely.
I feel like an FRT is for like unloading into like a large target, like a car or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. It's not in placed. It's not in that IAR or whatever.
Yeah. Again, I could see it in a defensive position where like you can, just dump a D60 and then just let it cool off and grab another rifle. I don't know. But like patrolling with something like that and then having to carry all that ammunition to support it, I just don't see it as feasible. Looks cool at the flat range though.
What's your opinion on bipods?
They're stabilizing. What do you mean?
Do you go for like a heavy bipod, like a heavy, really stable one, or like a
Yes, don't
lightweight?
buy the Magpul bipod. Buy
I have
like
I have a pair of Atlas bipods on my SPR.
yeah, Atlas. That's
Yeah.
what the Atlas
The
bipods are
thing
pretty
that
good. They're
is
just a little
sick
pricey.
about your Atlas bipod is that you can tilt it. So if you're shooting on unlevel ground and like your reticle is not at a 90-degree angle to the target, hopefully this makes sense the way I'm describing it, you can cant your rifle, whereas you can't do that with my knockoff Harris bipod. You have to extend a leg or shoot off of off of one of the legs of the bipod. The Atlas is sick in that you can tilt it like that, right?
Yeah, you could do lots of different stuff because each of the legs moves independently of the other, and they can lock back in multiple angles at a wider arc than Harris and Magpul. So you can make them work on lots of different types of terrain compared to other bipods for sure.
Is it the Atlas Cal, like a BT65, or
I think so. I would have to go
okay.
look it up, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's the one that doesn't have the pan. It's tilt only, right?
Right.
Okay, that's a Cal then, I think. Yeah, I have
If
an
you're
AccuTac, and I really like it, but it's like kind of heavy. And I don't know. I feel like if I were going in the woods for like 10 miles, 15 miles,
Sure.
I don't think I would take it. It's just
Yeah, you
Okay,
can always take them
well,
off.
well, that and
yeah.
also most SPR setups are inherently front heavy because you have a bipod, you have a lamb, maybe, maybe not. Actually, probably not because it might obstruct your glass, right? Or you have a
Mhm.
white light. Like some people run cans on it because they're playing like that SPR, marksman long range kind of, sniper role, right? They got to conceal their report as much as possible. And like again, your gun will just it's inherently front heavy. Like everybody I've ever talked to who sets up their gun in an SPR style, like they have the same complaint over and over and over again. It's like, yo, my support arm kind of hurt.
I think
Like, yeah, it's
if I'm
very front
like
heavy.
I think if I knew that I was going to employ my SPR that I don't have, and I was just defending my house and I didn't need to move, I would absolutely have a bipod on it, and but I would not have a laser aiming module. I would not have that weight on it. But if you are moving, if you're on an op, so to speak, you don't have the option to just grab your precision upper. And going back to GWOT's, service rifle video, one of his oldest videos, he talks about in the rain, in the snow, when it's hot, when it's cold, when it's dark, when it's light, when you're in the jungle, whether you're kicking doors, you need to be able to use that rifle. And so if you're away from your house and you don't have this armory, this the fucking LARP armory where you can just grab your shorty gun with the EOTech and the laser, and that's my night fighting gun. Oh, and then I got my daytime gun. Oh, and then it's not realistic. I've come to realize that your service rifle, like your GPR, you need to have the laser on it. If you have nods, like you need to have a weapon light. Uh, Maybe not the bipod if it's not an SPR. But my point is, like, you have that one upper that you're bringing with you. So bring what matters and have it on that upper. And if it's heavy, so be it. Like
Yeah,
that's
I
just the
try
way
not
it
to
is.
build. I'll build an upper receiver with a goal in mind, like a whatever, right? Like I have two uppers. One is set up for close range, one is set up for long range. But they both are set up in a way like you might have access to your house. Maybe you can come back home every 3 hours and change up receivers. Maybe house
Yeah.
is burned down and you never have a house again, and the rest of your life is walking through the woods with your shit. I don't know.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm a big proponent of the upper receiver needs to be able to fight in any environment. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not ideally, maybe it's kind of designed to be for this thing, but you need to not just be like fucked. Like, oh well, when it gets dark, I can't use this one. Like, that's not a good answer.
Are you even CAG, bro? Just get better.
Just do your fucking hammer curls, do your lateral raises, and shut up. Don't be a bitch.
The
Literally just get better. Your house burns down. Oh, oh well. Yeah, it's all a mental game. It's all in your head. Totally
So
ignore your
I'm
entire
sorry.
food
I'm
and water
sorry, boys.
supply that
I
just got
opened up
turned into
the
ash.
what I
opened up
did.
the
No,
weird
you're
can
good.
of worms.
No, it's fine. The answer that I did, which is just the answer I came up with. I'm not saying it's the correct answer. I'm not saying it's the answer you have to do, but my SPR I built with a 16-inch barrel and a 13-inch handguard, and I put a it has white light, IR light, and an IR laser on it, right? So it has a Surefire Vampire and the Holosun LE117, which I know Hop is like a huge guy of that's not a good thing. Don't use that. But again, the point is for it to shoot long range and not use those room clearing nighttime seal stuff. But it's on there. If I'm out forever on a deployment with that rifle and I'm in a situation where I need to use it at night, it has an IR laser. It has an IR illuminator on it. If I need white light, it has white light. The optic that it has is an illuminated optic, so I can shoot it at night or at day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It also, 16-inch barrel with a collapsible stock. I know I could get the super badass PRS stock that's fixed, that like is more perfect when I'm in the prone setup for it. I could get a 18 or 20-inch barrel and eke out some more velocity. I could get a 15-inch handguard and build some more like rigidity, but I could.
Yeah, you're just a Magpul CTR enjoyer.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
Cutting all those things out so that I can retain the maneuverability and the rifleman qualities of the rifle, right? I can still take accurate shots with the collapsing stock. I can still reach out and even beyond realistic engagement ranges with a 16-inch barrel and the muzzle velocity it provides. I can fit all my shit that I need to fit on the handguard on a 13-inch handguard. So where I can take weight savings, I will take them.
Which is why you put a dual light system on your handguard on your SPR that's already front heavy.
Yeah, well, I can't not in my personal opinion, I cannot not have IR illumination. So that's not an option. I could.
Yeah, just get better, bro. Come on, just get better eyes.
And to that point, I'll go around my house and I'll collapse the stock on my SPR all the way, and I'll run around and I'll do like CQB and clear my house with it. And it's honestly, in my opinion, feels way more handy and like lighter and maneuverable. I don't know if it is lighter in reality than the rifle I actually like cleared a bunch of rooms with in Afghanistan, which was an M16A4 with a 203 on it and an ACOG.
Yeah, I've been doing this lately just to get reps in with my laser and holding, positioning the stock and canting the gun inwards, collapsing the stock since you're not, cheek welding it really. You're, looking over it and you're using the laser to aim. It is much more manageable.
Yep.
With how front heavy my gun is. Yeah, it's suppressor, laser, light is it's pretty heavy.
Collapsing your stock.
Yeah, all the way in.
So
all the way
why?
in.
You can.
Why would you all the way in?
All your
to make my fucking long rifle as short as possible to get it through doorways. Why do you think operators want a 10-inch barrel? To make the overall length to get through doorways.
Not only that, those heavy accessories, your light.
You gotta do GBRS footwork, bro.
The further that is away from your body, the more muscle fatigue you're gonna hit, unless you're just a fucking Giga Chad. And when you're shooting with a laser,
I just ended up doing the Magwell grip after so long, but yeah.
Also true.
Eventually.
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, but I mean, even with that, it still can get tiring again, unless you're absolute Giga Chad. But the further away that weight is from your body, the harder it is to manage. But when you shoot with a laser, don't claim to be an expert here at all. I'm just saying you're not cheek welding the rifle because you're not looking through your optic. You're looking over your optic and aiming with a laser. So that said, you can collapse your stock and push it closer to your body.
I have a really bad habit of always getting a sight picture, even in CQB, even when it's like reactive shooting or point shooting should be like the only real solution. It's just ingrained in me because that's what I've done for years, to always have a sight picture.
When there's a threat there that's about to kill you, you won't have that problem.
Yeah, it doesn't even fucking matter anymore.
You'll just start pulling that trigger right the fuck away.
Which I think I told you about one time, like flow state, just not even fucking aiming, and just. But even then, I feel like
Yeah, here I always explain
when
it
I
to
could get a
people.
sight picture,
Yes,
I would. Was the
you're
point?
in close distance, life and death, combative shooting. You're always trying to get a sight picture. You're just not waiting for
You're
one to
target
pull the
focused,
trigger.
obviously. Yeah, yeah. You're constantly focused on what's going on around you, not necessarily like your input
You're
and
just
your fucking like
your
sight
brain
alignment.
isn't going to your brain knows that you living depends on you getting bullets out of that gun. So it's not going to not shoot because you don't have it all set up perfect, right? My point with I know it's like a nuanced topic. Once it makes sense, like a light bulb moment. You're trying to get a sight picture. You're just not waiting on it. So if you're Delta CAG Sniper SEAL, then you do get the sight picture because you are always training, trying to, and you've shot 1,000,000 rounds that year. So you're so good and it's so muscle memory and it's all just naturally happening that boom, there's your sight picture. You have it. Wonderful.
Yeah, well, get fucked, bro. I got Delta Force reps, all right? I can get a sight picture at like a sub-second. All right,
And
you
if
don't
you
even know. Here,
if
you'll see.
you
You'll see.
if you've never if you've never shot before and all of a sudden you're in a life and death encounter with a firearm, that's when you'll just like that's when Tyrone is just like running the opposite direction and like mag dumping and he doesn't even know how many rounds he shot and shit like that. Point being, like he was trying, he wanted to aim, he would have liked to be accurate if he let's make it not Tyrone, make it somebody that's a better shooter, like your average concealed carry citizen, right? They might not actually pick up their sight because it's such a level of stress they're not used to. They haven't trained this level, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not going to not shoot. They're gonna dump their fucking gun, and they'll bring it up, they'll present it, they'll wish they got a sight picture. They won't wait on it, and then they'll shoot all of their rounds. Never pick up a sight picture because they're not that good, and then be out of bullets. And whatever happened, or they'll hit a reload and carry on with their day. So that's my point. Doing all the dry fire and doing all the range drills and doing all the reps means that when you get in that life and death moment, you will be able to you'll be leaning more towards Delta CAG sniper guys that are able to, because they have such muscle memory, they pick up their without even, you know what I'm saying? The gun naturally comes into the right place. The sight picture is just there. It's not, they don't have to wait on it. It's just, it happens. And if that's not happening for you, right? If there's a threat, if you do like really rush serious shooting and you're not picking up your sight picture by your second or third shot, then that just means you have a skill issue and you need to do more dry fire, more live fire, and get better at picking up your sight picture. Because in a real life encounter, you're not going to wait for those accurate shots. You're just going to fucking start taking them. And you have to be at a high enough skill level to pick your sights up while that's happening to then have accurate shots in that situation.
Well, it's like what you were saying earlier about the light bulb moment. It's kind of like an end all be all. Like it's, oh, you either look over your optic the whole time and shoot, or you get like a perfect sight picture and shoot. But it's a mix between both worlds, like you were saying. Like you don't have time, right? You go in, you process something, somebody is like very clearly, obviously a threat, which if you even have the time to process that, right? And that brings in like the whole PID dilemma and whatever, it's all contextual. Point is, like, you're going to fire and be actively working towards that sight picture, but like you said, you're not going to wait for it. I do understand that. I just wanted to bring it. Are we still on the internet?
Yeah, we are still on the internet. Also,
that's crazy, bro. That's probably like one of the longer streams.
Yeah, definitely. Let me touch on this too. When I said I put my SPR stock all the way into CQB, I understand that if my job is to be like point man assaulter guy, I'm in 75th Rangers now and I'm like clearing rooms and that's what I do. And I have a 10.5-inch rifle with an EOTech. I'm not going to put my stock all the way in. I'm going to put my stock out. My rifle is shorter. So now I'm putting my stock out because that gives me the better ergonomics of where I'm used to holding the rifle and all that. So I'm better with the rifle, more accurate with the rifle, whatever, all that shit. But because my barrel is reduced, the overall length is reduced, and I'm still able to operate and move through doorways and in and out of cars and be very nimble. Now, if I have a longer system, my job is to be a sniper or an SPR guy, a designated marksman or whatever. And for whatever fuck ass reason, that's the gun I had because that was my job. But now here I am clearing fucking rooms. I will put my stock all the way in, which is not ideal for my wrist angle and all this other fucking shit, biomechanic stuff. But it will help me move through those doorways quicker, right? I'll deal with a not the greatest wrist angle if it gets my gun banging in doorways less. So,
but again, also since when you're doing that, you're probably shooting with your laser or point shooting. You don't really need a cheek weld. You can hold your gun, can it inwards, hold it, look over your sights, aim with your laser, or
same.
In a building, you can intuitively hit what you're pointing at
Yes,
most of the time.
Same acceptance of, and I'll do the flip side in a second. I'll talk about my other upper right. Same acceptance of not being the best at that job, but still able to do it. Yes, I can collapse my stock all the way in. I can get through the house. I have enough muscle memory and enough practice with aligning my rifle. I'm at close enough ranges that whether I pick up my optic top dot or not, from one side of the room to the other, I'm going to be effective. If I shoot this guy fucking 5 times, 4 rounds are going into his upper thoracic cavity, guaranteed. Right? Now, is that acceptable? Is that acceptable if I'm the point man, right? If I'm on the FBI HRT team or if I'm in the 75th Rangers and I'm no, I need to be hitting that guy in the fucking tee box the first round. That's what's acceptable because I'm not the marksman that's got thrust into room clearing. Now I am the room clearer. So I need to be clearing rooms. So
Matt Franca.
Right. So
Yeah,
then
you can be Delta Force.
I'm gonna have a rifle that's set up for that because that's my job, and then it's gonna be completely flipped. Now I have the 10 to 13 inch rifle. It's got the big windowed red dot on it, and so I do get my sight picture right away. I can see everything. I can take super fast, snap, highly accurate shots, hostage shots, whatever I need to do from one side of the hallway to the other. But now if I get put in a situation where I have to suppress the enemy that's 300, 400, 500 yards away, I need to have secondary dots on my rifle. Maybe I need to have a 3x magnifier. Maybe I need to have a 3x magnifier in my pack that I can pull out. I need to know my holds. I know I'm not going to shoot somebody in the face at 400 yards, but I need to understand how high up do I need to aim to be able to still shoot at that house to suppress that house that's 400 yards away. Point being, you set the rifle up to do the job, and then you make sure you put the stuff on it and that you have the skill sets necessary to also be able to do all the other possible tasks that could come your way.
Boom.
I think that's a very good answer to "Are you even gag, bro?" That's how this whole thing started. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I'm a 16-inch enjoyer.
This problem is solved if you can't afford a night vision.
Pause.
Also true.
Yeah. Yeah. About that. Working on it. What random question, bro. What heat shields? Like what company did you get your heat shields from on your rifles?
Heat shield?
On the handguard.
I don't have a heat shield on my handguard. I just have a handguard.
You don't have the like heat shield inserts underneath the tape?
Oh, you're talking about they're not heat shields.
Is that not?
It's not called heat shield.
Those aren't heat shields? Oh.
That is kind of what they do. They're whatever. They're just M-LOK grips, M-LOK scales. Help me, other people.
Yeah, M-LOK scales.
Yeah,
rail scales and shit like that. Yeah, I do have some of those. Yes, I do.
I always thought that they mitigated heat. That was their whole
they
purpose.
They do, and that is their purpose. Yes, they're just not called heat shields.
Okay, my fault.
No, you're not. Not at all.
Retardation moment. Yo, your heat shields. Heat shields. The fuck you doing? Yeah. What company? By chance? Probably find them in like 5 seconds. But
just get the Magpul ones.
Magpul ones.
My SPR has Midway Industry Night Fighter rail on it.
I like the ones on your 13.7. Those are just the Magpul ones.
Yep. Yeah, those are the ones I was looking for. I was planning on putting them on mine.
They're cheap. Pretty damn cheap. Dude,
you
some
think
of those
taping
are so
things up
fucking
is
expensive.
necessary?
I think it's really cringe when people have all these fucking super expensive accessories like a fucking magwell and all rail scales and I don't know.
Yeah, it's a piece of art. Not a tool at that point.
Lately.
What's that?
on YouTube, just in my feed, everyone refers to their rifle as, "Oh, it's my new build, a build. This this ARP build." Kind
Yeah.
of cringe. Just it's a fucking rifle. Why are we calling it a build like it's some you're in Call of Duty choosing your fucking loadout?
Yeah, that's why, because that's what they're doing. It reminds me of
It's my build.
the great Risky Krisky posted his what is it, restless rifle syndrome persists. I was like,
Yeah, saw that.
fucking shouldn't.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I just simplified it all, bro. BCM, MCMR, 16-inch, EOTech EXPS3, Surefire Light, one of the Axon pressure switches, call it a day. But yeah, I was just wondering with the quote-unquote heat shields, the
It's
M-lock
like a rail
inserts, what they
panel.
were
It's a
called.
rail M-lock
Yeah,
rail
yeah.
panel, rail
Yeah,
scale,
it's just
something
the
like that.
M-lock stuff. M-lock, yeah, Magpul, M-lock. I'll fucking find out right now.
So yeah, that brought me into another question real quick, because I always have so many. The tape that you put around the handguard as well, is that like, does it really make a difference? Does it really make a difference? Like, is it necessary? 'Cause
Rail
I was
covers.
gonna leave it alone.
Rail covers.
Rail covers. Yeah,
Uh,
that is.
Yeah, it's a the tape is a personal preference thing. It's not like a huge deal. It's not something to stay awake at night and stress about.
I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I tossed and turned all night, imagining in my head, like rotating the apple in my head, but it was a rifle, and I was like,
Yeah,
tape or not the tape.
I had some athletic self-adhesive non-sticky wrap in camouflage around my 13.7 for a while, and it was nice. It was like a good spot to grip. When I put the HFXC on it, I put a pressure pad up top, and I decided I just didn't want the tape on it because it made it like harder for me to feel the pressure pad textilely. But then now on my 16-inch, since I put a pressure pad on my 13, I decided to go ahead and try to do uniformity. So I put a pressure pad on my 16-inch also. And that one, to keep it low underneath the glass, I just hockey grip taped it to the upper receiver on top. So there's grip tape on my 16-inch rifle now. But so anyways, the tape is just there. If you want to try it. If you don't like it, don't use it. I think a lot of the taping started because it was taping all of the tape switches and the wire leads and stuff like that on the rifle, like completely down and out of the way and away from being snagged, is where a lot of that came from. And then the secondary benefits was it does help mitigate heat a little bit, and it gives you like just another reference point of like to make sure your hand, you can feel that it's in the right spot. But also, if you're doing any serious work, you're probably gonna have gloves on your support hand. So
I brought up the switch as well for the white light. I'm sure you've heard of like the Unity Axon. I forgot the specific model, but it's the one that like sticks up off the gun. It doesn't sit flat to the
Mhm.
rail. It actually like protrudes out a little bit, and you don't. It's kind of weird to explain.
lot
It's
of
at a
the-
slanted angle.
yeah, I know
The
what you're talking
ramp
about.
or whatever.
A lot of this
Yeah,
stuff
Would
is
you
all
recommend that or one of the flat
all
ones?
this shit is personal preference. All this shit you're gonna have
Okay.
to mess around with and see what you like. I
There's not a
don't.
biomechanical ball knowledge answer or anything
I
like that. It's
don't.
just figure it out.
It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things all at the same time.
I feel like as long as you have a good something to grip onto, whether it be your vertical foregrip, something that you can reliably grip onto, and you can develop muscle memory, and if I have my support arm in this position, I'm good to go. I can reach all my accessories, and it gives you enough friction to grip the rifle and pull it into your shoulder pocket. That's all that fucking matters. The rest is personal preference. What works for one may not work for another person. I don't run the vertical foregrip. I know this conversation is getting really cringe, but I just use fucking camo form tape. It works for me. I don't like the vertical foregrip at all, but I don't like the rail scales. I just use the tape.
Wonder where can you find a light cap without buying and getting Jewed by 100 Concepts?
Hammy 3D prints.
Okay.
Hammy 3D prints, way
They
cheaper.
provide you with 550 cord and everything, or do you have to?
It comes with shock cord, and I think
Okay.
he also gives you a Ranger band too to
Can you
secure it to
shoot
your
me
leg.
a? Can you shoot me a link to that if you don't mind?
Yeah, yeah.
Or DMs.
He
Thank
makes
you.
other accessories too, like way cheaper.
Hemi 3D prints? Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so tape switches on your shit. First of all, your tape switch is gonna fucking break. So make sure you, even if it's not super ergonomically, can physically access the button
Yeah,
on the
probably left
device
side of the
to
handguard.
to use it if necessary. Whatever. There's lots of different ways, lots of different techniques, lots of different theories and placements. Just understand how and make sure that you can press the button on the device, that is physically a possible thing to happen.
What I've done, I really do like the pressure switch, but I do understand the fragility of it. But the light that I have, it came with a clicky end cap. I just have that in my chest rig. And if the pressure switch were to fail, I like to think that I could literally just rip it the fuck off my gun and grab that. But I don't know in the heat of the
Yeah,
moment that I would be able to do something like that. But again,
that's
I think we're kind of overthinking shit. But I do think that having the ability to have a click button that's more reliable if your pressure switch fails, I think that's probably pretty wise.
I think it was like AWL or something like that. I forgot the exact like name for the white light, but they only make one for weapon mounted lights,
I
HRT.
just
That's
I
why I
just
really
think
like the
how
design of their lights because they have like a really nice like Intel cap that you can use to click on and off. It's actually very unique. Like there's not been another company that has done it like that at the moment that I'm aware of. And that's what I was like telling. I think I told you what about that a while back when I was looking for lights. It's a really good system, I think.
if you also look at Arasaka, you can build your own light kit, which is what I'm looking to do. I just can't stand how overpriced lights are, personally. But if you were to,
Come on, bro,
you
just
can
bend over for
build,
Surefire already. Come on now.
yeah,
Just accept it.
400.
Just take it with a smile.
Yeah, I
400.
don't know.
So
I'm just a
your
streamlined
your
guy.
your tape switches, you're gonna want to be able to very easily and always tell the difference between like what's your white light and what's your laser if you're running both those things. So that's where the different, like having one at a 45-degree angle as opposed to one flat, can help you. Like my laser's at 45 and my white light's out on the flat one, or whatever the case is, right? So that way you can't, like, it's not two flat tape switches and you like forgot which one your thumb was on. They physically feel
It's my
different.
laser button, my light button. Yeah, I
Um,
think it's called the AWLS, HRT AWLS, if you want to check out what I was talking about.
the
To put it
way
in context.
the way that I like to deconflict it personally is I like to have my white light on the left side of the gun and with a clicky tail cap that I press with my thumb on the device. And then right now, both of my lasers have a pressure pad put at the 12 o'clock position on the rail. And then they are on the 12 o'clock position on the rail forward of that pressure pad. If I had to choke up and press the button on them, I could.
You know, I thought about this the other day. My light obviously is on the right side since I'm running a pressure pad, but if I were to run a click button, it would need to be on the left side because my support arm is my left hand and I can't reach my fucking thumb all the way over. But I guess, question for you, since you're running your light on the left side of your handguard and you're a right-handed shooter, does that ever affect you shooting off of a barricade?
It
If you're
it
shooting,
Yeah, it makes, I can't choke my hand all the way up on the very front end of the handguards. So
would you
I
just like butt your weapon light up against the barricade? Like,
what's, as far as the barricade, it's the same whether it's on the right or the left side of the gun. Like it's the same
yeah, but if
forward.
you're like leaning out the right side of a barricade
Okay, well if
and
you're
you're
leaning out the
holding your
left side
right,
of a barricade,
yeah, makes sense.
just same but opposite.
See, here we go again, overthinking little shit that doesn't matter.
People have gone the back like 10 years ago, it was the standard was to keep your light on the left side of the rifle like I do, which is probably a big reason why I do that, because that's kind of the genre that I grew up in. Nowadays, a lot of guys run their lights on the right side of the rifle, pressure
You're
switches,
right-handed.
and that lets
Left-handed, left side, yeah.
that
It's like
lets
a
them
rule.
that lets them be able to reach further down that rifle, especially if they don't have a laser, or if their laser is more to the rear. then they can do that C-clamp grip all the way at the very front of their handguard. I also don't, like, I'm not competition shooting. I'm not trying to, like, get my best split times in transitioning in, like, a 30-second round. So I basically never grab my handguard way up by the front of it anyways. I'm always gripping it at a compromising position, like that, and in the middle way, right, where I still get good control over the gun, but I'm not like super overextending my arm and wearing myself out.
I know this is going to be a very CQB-esque question, but shooting off the right and left side of barricades, shooting ambidextrously. What I've noticed is shooting on your non-dominant side. The real challenge, at least for me, is my trigger finger. It's not the awkwardness of using a non-dominant high to aim, or using my non-dominant shoulder and the cheek weld and all the awkwardness in that. It's the trigger finger on your non-dominant hand. You don't have unless you're like an ambidextrous Giga Chad. I'm certainly not. You don't have the same level of dexterity and control with your non-dominant trigger finger.
Bro, how do you shoot? Because, like, for me, it's just in general everything biomechanically, like rolling my shoulder up and forward into the stock, and like being able to actually get the gun up and get a cheek weld on my non-dominance. I just feel so wrong. It feels like I don't know. Like that's interesting as just your trigger finger, because for me it's like all the fundamentals, like everything goes out the window on my non-dominant side.
Have you seen the move where you keep your hands in the same position but you still swap shoulders?
Yeah, I have seen that, and even then,
and
that's
I used to do this when I played. I'm not trying to make a correlation here, but I played. I played paintball a lot, like semi-competitively, and that's exactly what I did, was to maintain my same trigger finger. I would switch my gun to my non-dominant shoulder, but that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
I would just overexpose myself and get raped. That's why I have played to the end. If I get shot in the face or the pelvis, I get shot in the face or the pelvis.
Also that I think a lot of you're like hyper fantasizing about a niche situation that's probably never gonna happen. Like where I'm at the corner and it's the opposite angle and the enemy has me pinned and I have to barely ink out. Like that's probably not gonna ever be a thing.
It's like the whole thing with handguns. It's like, oh yeah, practice shooting in sight alignment with your left eye, your non-dominant side, because will conceal. That will like keep your head.
I really think
just slightly.
I think that's more realistic though with a handgun, because I think like your dominant arm may be injured.
Well, no. I'm not talking about like shooting. You go ahead, GWOT. I can hold this.
I was just gonna say, I think that the hyper switching of the shoulders actually came from airsoft. Like airsofters saw the highest tier of operators would do that every now and again, and then they were like, "Ooh, that's cool and high speed, so I'm gonna do that every fucking single time I pie a corner to the other direction." And then because all the airsofters were doing it all the time, it just got like popular, I guess. So I don't know. I don't even see like real operators like fucking swapping shoulders like all the fucking time and shit. Like,
they actually speak against it. They say don't do it.
Yes.
They say it's retarded. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you go ahead, Phil. Okay, is everyone done?
I was like you. I actually practiced switching I practiced switching shoulders so I could do it. I started out like you, where like it felt so fucking. I couldn't do it at all. Like use my left eye.
It's so awkward.
Yeah, I can do it. I can do it now, but then again, I don't have an ambi safety selector, and that's on me.
And yeah, I just practiced it for like weeks until I could do it.
Thumb over grips, Paris Court Steve.
I still feel like going back to what GWOT said about in the heat of the moment, you're just gonna dump rounds. You're not gonna think about the fight picture. You're just gonna point, shoot, and dump rounds. I think.
Well, yeah.
You're not gonna think to switch shoulders unless
you're only
doing it to enter a building a certain direction. You're not gonna
You're only gonna do things that you do without even having to think about them.
Yeah, so that was the thought that I was holding for later. So not necessarily saying, oh yeah, with your handgun. Like I'm not saying, because you brought up a good point. Oh yeah, what if your hand gets fucked up and now you need to use your offhand? That's different. That's not what I was talking about. I'm saying there is a method where it's like you aiming with your handgun and like you're using your dominant hand as your firing hand, whatever your support hand, like as normal, and instead you're just moving the gun over to your left side and aligning it with your left eye. And the idea is, oh, you come around the corner and now you're like minimizing the exposure of your head halfway. So now you only get that side of your head blown off and not a perfect U shape down the middle. And it's like, bro, what like, doesn't matter. You're trying to train a whole new skill. And you're making it harder for yourself, and you're really gonna process that little micro thing in the moment. Whenever there's a guy literally right corner and rape distance, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I need to use my left eye instead, so I minimize my exposure
I
by
also
like a
feel like,
literal inch. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
and
I
I
think
also
it
feel like,
matters in static positions if you're using a rifle, right?
I
If you're
also
in a
feel like,
static position behind cover, then swap shoulders, obviously. Maybe. Again, it's all contextual.
yeah, I also feel like, at least at my skill level, the more of these little niche techniques that you try to implement into your training, the more just confusion it's going to cause you. And you should just, like, you're not a tier 1 operator, and
Yep.
even tier 1 operators may not do any of these things. And
Yep.
like, don't muddy the water. Don't try to
Yep.
like develop small little techniques that are so rare that the effectiveness of them would be so rare that it's going to jeopardize your,
It's a
like,
balancing act, because I'm not saying don't seek excellence and don't seek self-improvement. Don't try to be more accurate, more fast, more better. Of course. But yes, be realistic about who you are. Same thing going back to, like, you were talking about, bunch of people buy all these SPR rifles and badass glass and all this, but then they can't even shoot. It's like, if you're just the red dot guy, because that's where you're at skill wise, and that's where you're at with the time and the money you have to train wise, okay, be the red dot guy. That's fine. We need him too. It's no big deal, right? If you're just the basic infantry dad dude, if you're dad squad, you're dad squad. If you're not tier 1, don't be tier 1. Don't spend what little valuable training time you have trying to master complex things that aren't going to be useful to you anyways. If you're at the basics, then just do the basics and get really fucking good at them.
And even then,
yeah,
if you are tier 1, you're never gonna have like the tier 1 assets. You're never gonna be like even if you train to the tier 1 level, you're never gonna have. First of all, you don't have the time to do that, and second of all, time or money. And again, it's like you don't have 24/7 air support. You don't have ISR. You don't have intelligence that was handed off to you most likely way beforehand. You didn't like set up and mock the entire house before clear
range
through a
cards,
mock
all
house.
that.
Yeah, clear through a mock house of the building you're about to go hit tonight, right? You're not doing any of that stuff. I mean, you can do something similar. You can mimic it in a way, like, oh yeah, maybe we do have ISR, in one way or another. Maybe we did have intelligence handed off to us, and maybe in some way we managed to like rehearse it beforehand before going in. Whatever. It's very contextual, but most of the time, probably not. Like realistically, you're not going to. In their case, like those guys, they had it every single time, right? And that's again why they're so proficient. We've like had this conversation 69,000 times. But even if you train to the tier 1 level as an individual, that's great and that's wonderful, and now you're a valuable asset. And if everybody else could do that, wonderful, that's great. But like you're not gonna have the logistical support or the technological support that they have. So you'll never truly be at that level. Or financial support too.
And it's also kind of low key just brilliance at the basics. Like,
Yeah,
they actually, as we already hinted, they actually don't switch their shoulders every single time they pie the opposite corner. For the most part, it's just like the simple shit, but just done perfect always.
yeah,
Well, even then, they're held to a much higher standard, though, in general.
Perfect.
Like,
Perfect
that's
every time, always. That's the standard. Never a
very
mistake.
much.
that's not us.
But then they still trip down the staircase and stories and stuff, allegedly. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, good
Yeah.
discussion. I'm sorry, I kind of got us into the gear and
It's fine,
really
dude.
fine detail rabbit hole, but I think it is good to discuss like what really matters and for
Yeah, help me
our
out with my
our
rifle setup a
skill
little
our
bit.
skill level. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. basic stuff. The basic stuff is what we should be focused on, and just hammer it down and do it 1,000 times till you can do it in your sleep. And I know it's boring and it's lame, but that's what's gonna save your life one day.
Yeah, I mean that's what this whole TDG was about, though. It was about like the minutia that goes into all of the like the big picture, but on the micro level. So yeah, this is the goal. Like we're going into the subdivision and applying the concepts of MOUT, but in the neighborhood. And that's how the whole thing, like the whole stream was revolved around the micro factors and considerations in that. That was the whole idea. So it's fine, obviously. It's good stuff to know. If you just like have the big picture and that's it all the time and you never know the little things, you're going to end up like me where you spent years learning, but you still have these little questions about little things because they were never really touched on. And then they feel intuitive after the fact, but even then it's like still you didn't know, right? So it's
Yeah, I
always
mean,
it's great obviously to ask questions and know.
GWOT, you can make the photo that you have up on your stream as the thumbnail for your YouTube video, so YouTube thinks we were talking about rail scales for 2 hours.
Yeah, but you're gonna get so many views. You need to monetize that video too. Our funding. Yeah.
Our fund. Yep, accurate. All right, I'm gonna hop off the internet, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Fun times, dudes.